Hey, what's up my lovely people? Welcome back to How to Drum and Bass, the channel on which we, among other things, show you how to make the sounds that the top popular artists are using right now. And today we're going to be making one from, well, quite a while ago, but that remains a classic. And it sounds a little bit something like this. I'm talking, of course, about Macky Gee's absolutely iconic tune, Tour. And our recreation that we're going to be working on today sounds like this. Cool. So let's dive into how we can do that. Let's get ourselves a fresh MIDI channel with a new instance of Serum, and let's copy over these MIDI notes, which, by the way, if you want these MIDI notes to follow along, you can download them in the link below for free, so make sure to check that out. All right, and then let's start building. So we're going to start out by actually just getting a simple sub that's going to be forming the bass, or the sub of our patch, and we're going to put it on direct out here, and we're going to keep it at 0 octaves. Then we're going to get both oscillator A and B, and we both want them to play pretty harmonically rich wavetables. So for oscillator A, I'm going to pick in the analog section this MB triangle, because it's quite, well, it already says metal, and it has a little bit of that type of tonality to it, and you can see here that it gets pretty cool. So we're going to put this somewhere here for now. And then the second oscillator, we're actually going to put that up 2 octaves and 7 semitones. So this is really going to take care of those upper tonalities and that sort of crunch and that brightness in there. And for this, we can choose a few different wavetables. But what I want to do today is go to the analog section and get the mellow but unstable. You can actually choose to do this wavetable again, or basically anything that is quite harmonically rich but still fat, like not too noisy, basically, because we want, well, you'll see in a minute, we'll scroll through some wavetables, that this determines sort of the end tonality of the sound. All right, so this is our basis, which already sounds like this. Cool, so you can already hear that we have sort of that little grunge going on, so that's nice, that's cool. Now what we want to do is we want to start creating some movement in the sound. So let's grab an LFO, and let's just shape it in sort of like a shark fin type shape. Normally I would probably do something like this, but I've noticed that for this particular sound, it's actually quite nice to just have it as a very straight line type thing. And let's start applying this to, let's say, the wavetable position of maybe both of these. We can sort of see how much movement we want, and also to some filter movement, but we only want to do the filter movement on the first one. So we kind of want to keep this top end tonality stable. These higher frequencies, those need to sort of move with the notes completely, but the bottom, we want to filter that out. So we're going to only keep it available for A. We're going to give it a tiny bit of resonance to sort of make it sweep just a tiny little bit, and then we're going to have this go and sweep from, let's say, you know, sort of here to there. And so what that's going to do also is this obviously also has some top end. It's going to sort of filter that out to make more room for what we're creating here in this oscillator as well. And let's find some nice parts of movement here. For now, this is probably fine. And then, of course, we're going to put this LFO on trigger mode. All right, let's head into the effects, and we're going to add some more movement. We're going to get a tube distortion, and this is actually the only distortion that works. And we want to create some pretty extreme, like, over the top. So what I'm going to do, you can drag this, and you can see that if I drag it beyond the max, it goes higher than the max. And we're going to drop it all the way to 100, so you get this, like, little red dot here, which basically means it's overdriving. So you can already hear that that's, I mean, might be a little bit intense, but that's definitely giving us sort of that distorted, bright sound that we want. All right, let's also add some reverb to it. We don't need that much, so I think we can get away with standard settings, perhaps. Or maybe we actually just turn this down to about 10%. We can still hear, though, that this sound is really abrupt, right? It needs to have at least a little bit of a tail, so we're going to up this release a little bit. And it doesn't have to be that sharp. It doesn't have to have that right? It needs to be more like wow, 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 wow. So we're going to up this attack here a little bit. Nice. And then we definitely want to put mono on as well, so that these things don't interfere too much with each other when we're playing multiple notes, since we have that release tail here. And then also, let's actually put this on envelope mode. Otherwise, it's going to re-trigger this LFO, which we don't really want. Nice, getting there.
Hey, quick break. If you're enjoying these videos and you like my style of teaching and you've been feeling like you want to get more into sound design, specifically for drum and bass, then maybe you want to check out my brand new online course called Drum and Bass Sound Design Mastery. It's an absolutely massive course with over 150 videos spanning 14 hours of content where we teach you two things. In the first half, we teach you everything there is to know about synthesizing sound in Serum. And in the second part, we show you how to use that knowledge to create the most popular sounds in drum and bass. I guess you can see it like the ultimate masterclass of drum and bass sound design. So if that sounds like something you could be interested in, check the link in the description below to find out more about this awesome course. All right, let's get on with the video.
All right, let's start making this sound wide. And the nice thing is, so we have to sub on direct out, so we don't need to worry about the low end of this sound. We could always replace it with a separate sub, but in this case, it might not even be necessary. And let's add some hyper after this distortion. And also some dimension. Let's put the mix up a little bit and the size just down a little bit so we don't get too dramatic effect here. And let's actually add 7 voices of unison here, but bring that mix down a little bit. So you can just hear that it's a little bit more dispersed now, which sounds pretty nice. All right, cool. Another thing that we can do is we can sort of EQ out maybe some of these lows because well, once again, we don't really need them. Let's just do that. Let's take this Q factor down because we don't want that weird bump here. All right, nice. And let's turn this down a bit as well because I feel like it's clipping a little bit now. So let's turn this down here. Cool, all right. Now, this is not entirely necessary, but to sort of give a little bit more grunge to it, we can add a reverb filter. Let's do that before the reverb, because the reverb filter is going to give it just a little bit more of that metallic sound if we put it at a low enough cutoff. So I'm going to put it at 100 mix first, but we're going to dial that back in a minute. So let's add resonance. So that's cool, but that's obviously a bit too much. So we're going to dial back that mix. Nice. It's just going to give it a little bit more juiciness to it. And what we can do is also we can pan this slightly to one side so that it will sound a little bit more stereo to our brains, which is going to make it sound really nice and wide and big. Cool. All right. Now, another thing that we can do, so to sort of determine more of the exact intonation of the sound, we can actually take this upper tonality oscillator, so this +2 and +7 semitones one, and we can take the sub oscillator to apply FMing. And we don't really need it for this sound, but it is an interesting way to sort of add some more grit to it. So if you wanted to have some more darker stuff in there, you could do that through this. Even, you know, if you can put it all the way up, it gets pretty crazy. But I think if you were to take out some of these highs, it could actually be a super cool bass sound. But anyway, let's just put it on a little bit. Just add tiny touches. Nice. And yeah, then we're pretty much there. So I want to do a little bit of post EQing because it's very bright right now, and we do want that, but we want a little bit less of it than we have now. So I'm going to actually shelf this down a little bit. So just a little bit less intense. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to probably clip it. You would do something else in the mix later. But what I want to do is I really want to push it. I want to actually, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the gain at something ridiculous like 9 dB. And I'm going to put this like at, say, let's -3. And it's just going to push it and sort of upward compress the sound a bit. And then what we can do is we can add back some of this middle lower frequencies. And so what you can then do to change the sound is you can actually go ahead and sort of change this wavetable. So we can go and maybe get like this subby saw, for example. And you can see that changing the wavetable in one of these analog ones is just going to make it a little bit more brighter or a little bit more gritty. A bit more dark. So yeah, there's lots of things to play with there, but essentially that is the sound. And the cool thing about this is sort of this template with this with these two differing oscillators and some of this distortion and all this movement is actually, you can recycle that to make any sort of new age dance floor type lead that you want. And you can get super creative by changing the wavetables. So I challenge you to go take the sound and make it into your own, and maybe make a 4-bar loop today using this, and start something potentially cool. All right, I think that was the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something today, then please consider leaving a comment below. It helps me push this video out to more people who want to see how to make drum and bass stuff. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. I'm posting super regularly now. And if you want to learn more about how to produce professional drum and bass, make sure to check out howtodrumandbass.com. We have some of the most in-depth online courses on the planet about drum and bass. All right, thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey, so sorry to interrupt, but if you like the sound that we're making in this tutorial and you feel like you need more good sounds for your selection, then maybe you want to check out our Drum and Bass Essentials preset pack. It contains over 100 super high quality presets that are all easily modifiable of some of the most used sounds in drum and bass. It has leads, wumps, basses, reeses, bass hits, bass growls, wobbles, risers, kicks, snares, and so much more. So if you're interested in one preset pack that covers everything you need to produce drum and bass, then check out the link in the description or go to howtodrumandbass.com and you can see everything that's inside the pack. All right, let's move on with the video.